Hello everyone and welcome to derivatives, and this is the first chapter. So I'm going to introduce few concepts out here. We are going to discuss these concepts again in greater details in future classes. So this is just an introductory chapter. So what is a derivative? Derivative is an instrument whose value depends on value of some other underlying variable. So it's a contract. So derivative is a contract in which the value is derived from something underlying. I'll explain it, so don't worry about it. Derivative plays a key role in transferring risk in the economy. So derivatives are used for hedging, they're used for speculation, and they're used for arbitrage. So they play a key role in our economy. Examples of derivatives are future contracts, forward contracts, swaps, or options. So I'm going to discuss the concept of derivatives and then we'll go to these products with some live examples. So let's say I'm currently located in Calgary and I work with a hedge fund called as LH Holding out here, but because everything is online, I want to move to Kamloops because the weather in Kamloops is better than Calgary. So I've decided, since my work is almost online now, so I would be willing to sell my place in Calgary and move to Kamloops. Now the timeline that I have is I don't want to move it right away. I don't want to move right away, but I want to move in 2 months. So I'm looking for a place in Kamloops and I find that my friend Tony has a place which he is willing to sell at $100,000. 100,000 is too less. So let's say he's willing to sell it at $500,000. So Tony has a place in Kamloops which he is right now willing to sell at 500,000. So once again, the story is I'm currently in Calgary, moving to Kamloops in 2 months, and Tony, who has a place of 500,000, is willing to sell that place right now at 500,000, but his possession date is again after 2 months. So he's currently staying. So he would also say take 2 months to sell that place. Now what is the risk for me? The risk that I have is currently I am getting a place at 500,000. But what happens if the real estate prices go up in 2 months? So I may have to shell out more than 500,000. So my risk, the risk for me is price going up. And what is the risk for Tony? So the risk for Tony is he is able to sell this place right now at 500, but what happens if because of COVID and because of the economy a real estate crash happens? So his risk is price going down. So the buyer, who is me, has a risk that he's able to buy it at a certain price right now, but in future the price may go up. Seller, who is Tony, has a risk that he is able to sell it at 500,000, but the price may go down. So we have opposite risk profiles. Now in real life, what do? If I like the place, I generally put a deposit down and get into a contract. So buyer and seller get into a contract of buying and selling that asset in future, that is after 2 months, but at a fixed price that is decided today. So me and Tony would get into a contract of this place at 500,000. I am agreeing to buy it after 2 months at 500 and he is agreeing to sell it after 2 months for 500. Now me as a buyer would benefit if the prices go up, because let's say the market price goes up to 600,000, it goes up by 100,000. So everyone else is buying at 600,000, but because I am in a contract with Tony, I am able to buy it at 500,000. So I get benefited. So whenever prices go up, the buyers of a contract would benefit because they can buy at a lower price. And whenever prices go down, let's say the market price goes to 400,000, then Tony would benefit because everyone else is selling at 400, but because he is in a contract with me, he can sell it at 500,000. So buyer would benefit if price goes up, seller would benefit if price goes down. So this is a typical example of a forward contract. Why it is forward? Because it is between two people and it is customized. It's not traded on exchange, it's not a standardized contract, so it's a customized contract. So such type of derivative products are examples of forward. So once again, what is a derivative contract? It is a contract to buy and sell at a future date, that is 2 months from now, but at the fixed price of 500,000. So derivatives are contract to buy and sell at a future date at a fixed price today. Now there are two sides to a derivative contract: buyers or people who are long and sellers who are short. So buyers would benefit if price goes up because they have agreed to buy at a lower price because of the contract than the market price, and sellers would benefit if price goes down. Same way, a buyer would suffer loss if price goes down because then they have to buy at a higher price, and sellers would suffer loss if price goes up because they have to sell at a lower price. So this is a derivative contract. Now this was an example of a forward contract. Forward contracts are contracts that are customized between two parties and they are traded over the counter. Now if you see, in reality there are future contracts which are standardized and traded on exchanges, forward contracts, options and swaps. So I'm going to also discuss about future contracts so that you get an idea. So let's say we are looking at, do we have futures? So this is an option contract. So let's say SAP 500. We want stock. So let's say WOO. This is an ETF of SAP. So currently this ETF is traded at 314. So I'll come to this Excel sheet and explain an future contract. It is extremely similar to forwards. So let's say this ETF of SAP 500 index is traded at 314 right now. Okay, now you can do two things. Either you can buy a future or you can sell a future. So what happens when you buy a future? So let's say this is a future contract. What happens if you buy this? So whenever you click on buy a future, you are agreeing to buying it in future at current price or fixed price of 314. So if you click on buy on future, you are agreeing to buying this contract at a fixed price of $314. If you click on sell on future, you are agreeing to selling it in future at fixed price of 314. So let's say this future is after 4 months. So this is a contract for 4 months. So you can either buy or you can sell. Now what would happen to these parties if in 4 months the contract or the price is $350. So $350 is the price after 4 months. What would happen to buyer of a future and what would happen to seller of a future? Now buyer has agreed to buy it at 314, right? The current price is 350. So the buyer is benefiting. Something that is at 350, he can buy it at 314. So he would benefit in the tune of $36 per unit. Same way, seller has agreed to sell it at 314, but the market price is 350. So if he was not in this contract, he would be able to sell it at 350. But because he is in this contract, he has to sell it at 314. So the seller would be in loss of 36. Loss of 36. So buyer gets a profit of 36, seller gets a loss of 36. If this contract goes to 250, what would happen? Now the buyer is forced to buy it at 314 even if after 4 months this contract goes to 250. So he would suffer a loss of 314 minus 250, that is $64. So this is loss of 64 and this would be profit of 64. Now why profit? Because seller would be able to sell it at 314 instead of 250, that is market price. So what's the bottom line? In forwards or in futures, buyer would benefit if prices go up, seller would benefit if prices go down. So seller is making profit when prices are going down, buyer is making profit when prices are going up. So this was an example of a future contract. So let's go back to slides, cover up things about forward and futures, and then come back and I'll explain options too. So why are derivatives used? Derivatives are used to cover risk, hedge risk. They are used to speculate, that is to bet on future directions, to lock in an arbitrage profit. Arbitrage is when you buy in one market and sell in one market. So futures can be forwards, futures, options can be used to do that. To change the nature of an liability. So if you're getting some money or you have loan payments coming in different currencies, then you can use options and futures to hedge it. To change the nature of an investment without incurring cost of selling one portfolio and buying another. So if you want to change portfolios without incurring huge costs, then you can do that. So let's cover one by one. So what's a future contract? A future contract is an agreement to buy or sell an asset at a certain time in future for the fixed price, that is current price. So a future contract gives you an option to buy or sell in future at a future date, but for a fixed price that is determined today. By contrast, in a spot market, there is an agreement to buy and sell immediately, but futures are not immediate. They are going to be delivered in futures. Now futures are generally traded on exchanges. So difference between a forward and a future is forwards are not traded on standardized exchanges. They are traded over the counter. Over the counter means they are between two parties plus a broker arranges the trade. So they are not standardized. But future contracts are standardized. So they are traded on exchange. So the biggest exchange is Chicago Mercantile Exchange, that is in United States. That's the biggest future or an option exchange in the world. Then there are other exchanges like Intercontinental Exchange, Euronext, Eurex, then Brazilian one, NSE of India, China Financial Future Exchange, and many more. Now if you see in Canada, future and options are traded in Montreal. So they are not traded on TSX. TSX is for stocks, but Montreal is where you trade futures and options. Future price. The future price for a particular contract is the price at which you agree to buy or sell at a future time. It is determined by supply and demand in the same way that a spot price is. So if a lot of people are buying future contracts, the price of futures go up. If a lot of people are selling future contracts, the price of future goes down. Traditionally, future and options were traded according to open outcry system. So people used to raise their hands and they used to signal to do trades, but no one does that anymore. So it is all electronic trading. So physically meet, but this doesn't happen. So there is more electronic trading, and due to that, high frequency and algorithmic trading is happening more. So example of a future contract, the book suggests. So you can agree to buy 100 ounces of gold at $1,100 US in December, or you can agree to sell $62,000 euro and convert it to US pounds in March. So buying or selling at a future date is an example of future contracts. Selling oil at the current price. So some terms that you have to worry about. The party that has agreed to buy has a long position, so buyers are long, and party that has agreed to sell has a short position, so they are short. Example, in the month of Jan, an investor enters into a long futures contract to buy 100 ounces of gold at $1,100 in April. So you're getting into a contract in Jan, but when do you want that contract to end? You want the actual delivery to or actual exchange to take place in April. So this is a future contract because prices are determined today in Jan, but the delivery happens or exchange happens in April. The price of gold goes to 117. So which investors is in profit or loss? So once again, it's very easy. So prices have gone up. Whenever prices go up, the buyers benefit because the buyer can buy at 1100 instead of market price of 1175. So buyer can buy at a lower price. So buyer always benefits when the prices go up. Now seller always benefits when prices go down. So in this case, the buyer of the contract or person who is long would benefit. Over the counter markets, over the counter is instead of trading on an exchange, it is between two parties and arranged by a dealer or a broker. Generally it is dealer, and these dealers are large banks. So over the counter market is an important alternative to exchanges. Trades are usually between financial institutions, corporate treasurers and fund managers. Transactions are much larger in exchange traded markets. So number of transactions are more in exchanges, but the size of transactions are huge in over the counter. Over the counter market right now is over $30 trillion, which is much more than around $3 trillion that is traded on exchanges. So even though the number of trades are less in over the counter, the trades are huge, humongous. So size of OTC, it has the overall book size is around 700 trillion, but the trade volumes are around 30 trillion. So the size is much more of OTC than exchanges. Now derivatives also have huge risk with them. So in derivatives we have a concept of leverage. Leverage means that you can trade more than what your money allows, and that creates a huge problem. So in 2018 or 2008, when the Lehman Brothers crisis happened, 2007 2008, the main issue was Lehman Brothers was they had taken a lot of leverage because of OTC derivatives. They were traded almost 31 times the leverage on what they had assets. So what does that mean is, for banks, loans are generally assets. So they had traded their loans in OTC products or in OTC derivatives 31 times more. So even if the loans or the asset price, the house price went down by 2%, their capital would be wiped out. So issue with derivatives, you don't need to understand the whole story of Lehman Brothers, which is complex, but you need to understand that derivatives are leveraged. So the more leverage you take, even a small move can wipe your capital out. So Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy in 2008. This was the biggest bankruptcy till date in US history. Lehman was an active participant in OTC derivatives and got into financial difficulties because it took too much risk. It had hundreds and thousands of OTC derivatives outstanding to around 8,000 counterparties. So it was trading with around 8,000 players. Unwinding these transactions have been challenging even after the bank went bankrupt. The OTC market is become, so after Lehman Brothers, before Lehman Brothers, OTCs were not regulated. So there was no regulation on over the counter markets. But after Lehman Brothers have happened, OTC has started to be more regulated. So there have been a lot of regulations that are coming in into OTC market. So OTC market is becoming more like exchange traded funds, new regulations that were introduced. So the products are more standardized between financial institutions, and focus has been on swap contracts instead of credit default swaps. So that was a big change. So you don't have to, I'm just giving you an overview. We'll discuss these concepts more in future classes too. A central clearing party was assigned. Before that, OTC did not have a clearing party. What is a clearing party? Clearing party is an agency that guarantees execution. So if one of the party defaults, it is like an insurance. Before that, OTC did not have a clearing house and a clearing party. But now to trade even on OTC, you need a clearing party. And trade must be reported. Earlier, the size of OTC was not known, but now you have to report the whatever OTC contracts you make to a central agency. Now, why these regulations were issued? These regulations were introduced because of systematic risk. So what is systematic risk? So the world of derivatives is extremely linked. So if one bank fails, the other bank gets impacted. So for example, there are 5 major banks in Canada: RBC, Scotia, TD, BMO, and few other players. Now let's say all these banks are having derivative contracts with each other. So if RBC fails, it will impact contracts. Let's say it has a contract with Scotia Bank. So if RBC fails, Scotia Bank will take losses. Now if Scotia Bank has a contract with BMO, so if Scotia Bank takes losses, then it may fail, which would impact BMO. So everything is interlinked. So there is a huge systematic risk with derivatives. That's why these regulations are there. OTC transactions between financial institutions lead to a systematic risk because default by one large institution can lead to losses by many other players. So you have to be very careful, and governments are focusing a lot on derivatives these days. Forward contracts, these are similar to future contracts except they trade in over the counter. So they are customized, they are not standardized like exchange contracts. Exchange contracts are more on stocks and indexes. Forward contracts are popular on currencies and interest rates. The forward price of a contract is delivery price that would be applicable if were negotiated today. So forward price means you're buying and selling in future but at a current price. So that is same as future price. So future price, forward price, the connotations are same. The forward price may be different for contracts for different maturities. Currency forwards are most famous. For example, this is an screenshot of a major bank. The prices are noted, are conversion prices between USD and pounds. So 1 pound is equal to this, 1 US dollar is equal to so many pounds. So what is bid? So this is an example of a forward price. So this is spot and these are forward. Spot is delivery right now. Forwards are delivery in future. So this is the buying price for the bond, for the bank. So if it wants to buy $1, it will pay you this many pounds, and this is the selling price for the bank. So if you want to sell some dollars, it will, if the bank wants to sell some dollars, it will sell it at this price. So buying price is bid price, selling price is the offer price. Spot price means delivery is immediate. Forward price means delivery is in future. So 1 month, this is the buying price, this is the selling price for US dollars. 3 months, this is the buying, this is the selling. So this is an example of a forward contract. So they have given another example. On May 13, 2015, a treasurer of a corporation might enter into a long forward contract to sell 100 million euros in 6 months as an exchange rate of 1.5736. This obligates the corporation to pay 1 million and receive 157 million on December 13, 2015. What are the possible outcomes? So what is it saying? That it is entering into a long forward. So it is getting into a long contract to sell 100 million in 6 months at an exchange rate of 1.57. So what is it doing? The bank is going into long forward. What does that mean? It is agreeing to sell 100 million euros and convert them into USD at a price of 1.5736. So it is going to convert pounds that it has, euros that it has into USD at this price in future. So what happens if this price goes to 1.6? So if this price goes to 1.6, ideally it would have converted 100 million euros into 160 million in future. But since it has already done that at 1.57, it takes a loss. So once again, what is happening? It is converting 100 million euros into US dollars at a price of 1.5736. So if the price changes to 1.6, what would happen? It would convert at 157 million instead of 160 million it would have received. So it's taking a loss. But if this price went to 1.5, what would happen? It would get 157 million because of this contract instead of 150 million it would have got in an open market. So there are benefits of futures and forwards, especially forwards for companies. So next is important. So next is options, call and put. So I'm going to explain it in Excel and we'll take an example of Tesla. So options have two sides. You have call option and you have put option. Call option gives you right to buy but no obligation. Put option gives you right to sell but no obligation. And to buy call and put options, you have to pay premium. Premium is generally shown per share and the size of contracts is generally 100 units. So again, put options you have to pay premiums and size of contracts are 100 units. So what is a call option? Call option is a right to buy but there is no obligation. Put option is a right to sell but there is no obligation. In call options you have to pay premium per share. In put options you have to pay premium per share again. The unit sizes are 100. So I'll take an example so that you would understand it better. So let's take an example of Tesla. So the stock has done a split, so that's why the price is 418 right now. So the traded price is 418. We are going to options. So the current date is September. So let's say I'm looking at an option for 18th December. So September, October, November, December. So I'm looking at an option that expires 3 months from now. So if you look at a call option for 420, it is traded at $91. So Tesla 420 call option, which has an expiry in December, is traded at $91. Now if I buy this option, what do I get? I get right to buy Tesla at $91 till, so these are American options, so you can exercise any time, till December, what was the date? The date was 18th. Till December 18th. So if I click on, if I go here and click on buy, I get the right to buy Tesla call for 18th December, so I can execute it any time at the price of 91. So once again, options are traded in lot sizes of 100, so I have to pay 91 into 100 to get this right. So I have to pay $9,100 to get and right to buy Tesla till 18th December at a price of 420. Now let's say Tesla does very well, the stock is extremely volatile, and in the month of December, on 1st of December, you saw that Tesla is traded at $1,000. So what is happening? The market price for Tesla is $1,000, but as an option buyer, I had an right to buy Tesla at 420. So even though the market is buying it at 1000, because I got into a contract of option, I can buy it at 420. So am I in an advantage? So yes, you are in an advantage, because something that is for $1,000, you can buy it at 420. So you are actually in profit of 580 per share into 100. So your total profit on this contracts become $58,000 if Tesla goes to 1000. So by putting in $9,100, I got a profit of 5,800 on Tesla. Now instead of 1000, if 1st December I see the price of Tesla as $200, what would happen? Now the market price is 200. I have a right to buy it at 420. Would I buy? I would not. So anything that is traded for 200, I would never buy it at 420. So I would let the option expire. So my loss would be the premium that I paid, 9100. So we are going to discuss options in great details in further classes, but I just wanted to make a point. Call option is right to buy, but there is no obligation. Put option is right to sell, but there is no obligation. To get into option contracts, you have to pay premium, and there is a unit size store. Call option makes money when the prices go up. Put option makes money when price goes down. We are going to talk about options in future classes, so I'm not going to spend much time here, but this was just an example to give you an idea. By investing 9100, if prices go up, you make a lot of money, but if the prices go down, you only lose 9100 because you don't have to exercise. It's not an obligation. So options are one-sided contracts. You make a lot of money or you lose your premiums. So it's a way of making bets by limiting your losses. So just to summarize, call options are right to buy, but there is no obligation. Put options, there is right to sell, but there is no obligation. Whenever you get into contracts, you pay premiums, so you pay per share premium. Call option benefit when price goes up. Put option benefits when price goes down. So call option is an option to buy a certain assets by a certain date for a certain price. Put option is an option to sell a certain asset by a certain date for a certain price. There are two types of options, American and European. American options are generally on stocks. European options are mostly traded on indexes. So American options can be exercised anytime. European options can only be exercised, so you can only make that call of getting out of that contract on maturity. Don't worry if you're not understanding, this is just an overview. We are going to discuss options in great details in future classes. So they have given an example of Google. So you see something like this. There are different strike prices and there are different bid and ask prices. So I can show that to you on even on Tesla. So even 18th December, we can take different strike prices. So if I choose a strike price of 800, the premium would be lower. So in call options, higher is the strike price, lower is the premium. In put options, lower is the strike price, more is the premium. Sorry, less is the premium. So premium goes down as the strike price goes down. Premium goes up as the strike price goes up. Nothing is traded for that date. That's why it's not showing. So 25 for put. If I reduce the strike price, the premium goes down. So call option, the premium goes up as the strike price increases. Put option, the premium goes down. So I'm just giving you an overview here. Don't worry, we are going to discuss options in great details and start from like very basics. But you need to know that option is a type of derivative product for right now. So there are different strike prices, different maturities, and you can either buy a call or a put. Call benefits if price goes up above the strike price. Put benefits if price goes down. So once again, the profit and loss looks something like this. If you make a loss, loss would be limited to the premium paid. But if you make a profit, profit will be big. So for example, we bought a call option. So if prices go down, you will make only limited loss. But if price goes up, you make huge profits. Put option same way. If price goes up, you make a limited loss. But if price goes down, you make a huge profit. So once again, call benefits when price goes up. Put benefits when price goes down. Options are traded on Chicago Board Option Exchange, which is one of the biggest. In Canada, they are traded on Montreal Exchange. International Security Exchange, NYSE, is the next biggest one. Euronext, Eurex, and many more. Options and options versus futures. A future or a forward contract gives holder the obligation, but option doesn't have any obligation. So you can let your options expire. You don't have to exercise them. Now, hedge funds are generally entities who use futures and contracts in a big way. So the famous case right now in hedge fund trading is Bill Ackman. He made the biggest amount of money in a single trade in history of everyone. Like during COVID times when the market crashed, he converted $27 million into 2.6 billion on a single trade when the market crashed in COVID-19 in the month of March. So he did it through an option. So if you go to this article, means I follow him a lot. I've been following him for years now. He's one of the smart cookies that are there in the markets. So hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman is among few who minted billions of dollars during COVID when the market crashed. He converted $27 million that he put on options into 2.6 billion. So they have given how he converted it. So he didn't invest in call or puts. He invested in a little bit of a different strategy, but he was one of the biggest This is one of the biggest profit making trades ever in stock market. So hedge funds use options. Hedge funds are not subjected to same rules as mutual funds and can offer their securities publicly. Mutual funds have obligations to disclose it, but these hedge fund managers are not subjected to constraints and they charge fees. So there is generally profit sharing whenever a hedge fund trades. 3 reasons for trading derivatives: hedging, speculation, and arbitrage. A hedge fund trades derivatives for all 3 reasons. When a trader has a mandate to use derivatives for hedging or arbitrage but then switches to speculation, large losses can result. So profits can be huge too, but losses can be big whenever you trade in derivatives. Now the use of derivatives is hedging, speculation, and arbitrage. So I'll explain to you what hedging means, what speculation means, and arbitrage means. So first is hedging. Hedging is when you cover your risks. Speculation is when you try for profits. Instead of covering risk, your focus is profits. And arbitrage is when you buy and sell in different markets to make out the difference, to capitalize on the difference between prices. So I'll give you an example. So this is, I don't trade much through RVC, I trade through Questrade, but I put in a trade when COVID-19 happened. So my book cost was $10,000, so I put in a trade for $10,000 and currently it is somewhere around 1900. So I'm sitting over 90% in profit. But I have bunch of trades that I have put in, and all these stocks I find like quite interesting and reasonable. So all of them are in profits right now. So few days back I was trying to book my profits in because I think the markets would go down from here. So there is a big risk that I would lose out this 90% profit. But instead of selling my stocks, I put an option trade here. So instead of selling my portfolio, because my portfolio has a risk of going down, so instead of suffering losses in my portfolio if the market falls, I bought some put options on S&P 500. So if market crashes, I will benefit from put options that would cover my losses in the portfolio. So this is an example of using options or futures for hedging. Speculations would be if you think that Tesla price would go up, you will buy a call option. If you think Tesla's price will go down, you are going to buy a put option. So instead of covering risk, you are trying to make profits. That is speculation. Arbitrage is buying and selling Tesla in different markets. So let's say Tesla is not a relevant example, but if you see, there are some companies that are traded in Canada as well as in United States. So Suncor is an example. So if you see, Suncor is traded on New York Stock Exchange as well as Toronto. So what is an arbitrage trade? Arbitrage is where you buy Suncor if you see price differentials in Toronto and sell it in New York or vice versa. So if an asset is traded in different markets, you do an arbitrage. So if you see Suncor prices, it is $15 in US, and if you compare Toronto, it will be in US dollars versus Canadian dollars. So if you see an arbitrage opportunity, you can trade there. It's really slow. Suncor is $20 in Toronto. Okay. So you have to be careful when you speculate on derivatives because losses can be huge. They have given, there is a great movie about it called as Rogue Trader. He was a trader who brought the biggest bank, means one of the oldest banks in London, to its knees, and it eventually went bankrupt. So when you speculate on derivatives, it can be extremely dangerous. So hedging example, a US company will pay $10 million for import from Britain in 3 months and decides to hedge using long position, or an investor can hedge if he is thinking that the market may go down. So they have given examples. So in the book it is more clear, so go through the book examples. There nothing much to discuss, it's not rocket science. But hedging is when you have a position and you cover the risk. Speculation is when you just speculate. Feels like stock market will increase, so you can buy a call option. If you think the stock market will fall, you will buy a put option. You can also buy futures instead of options. Arbitrage is when you buy and sell in different assets. A stock price is £100 in London and $150 in New York. The exchange rate is 1.55. So how can you do it? So actually, what would you do? So they have given an arbitrage example. The price is $100 in London and $150 in New York. So how can you arbitrage here? And the exchange rate is 1.55. So there are two possibilities. Let's see which one is more beneficial. So first is buy in London and sell in New York. So if you buy in London, you're spending £100. So you spend £100, you get one share. You take it to New York and you sell that share for $152. Okay, you sell that share for $152. So when you spent £100 here, how much you paid in US dollars? You paid 100 into 1.55. So you paid $155, but you got back 152. So you are making a loss. So this arbitrage, this way it won't work. What else can you do? You can sell in London. Sorry, it means reverse way. You can buy in New York. So when you buy in New York, you pay $152. You paid. You go to London, sell it for £100. And that £100 you convert into US dollars 155. So effectively what you're happening, you ended up spending $152 to buy that share, but when you sold it in London and converted that money back to US dollars, you got back 155. So you are in profit of $3. So this is how an arbitrage works. You try to work out scenarios. It's basically buy in one market, sell in another, or buy in the other market and sell in the next one. In this case, if you do it this way, you will make a loss of $3, but if you do it this way, you will make a profit of $3. So this is how an arbitrage works. So is it a golden opportunity? The spot price is 1100 ounces. The future price is 1200 ounces. In 1 year, the US interest rate is 2% per annum. There is no income or storage cost for gold. So is there any arbitrage opportunity here? So let's work it out. So what is spot and future? Spot is you take delivery immediately. Future is you take delivery later. So spot price for US gold is 1100. So let's say I bought US gold directly in spot. So I bought it in spot for 1100. Okay, and I also sold a future contract. So what is selling a future contract? I am obligated to sell gold at 1200. They have mentioned it 1200. That's the price of future in 1 year. Okay. So what is happening? I put in $1100. I got gold, but then again I sold a future contract. So I am obligated to sell this gold that I have got in 1 year at 1200. So what is happening? Money wise, I paid 1100 bucks, but since I paid it, I lost interest on 1100 because I paid, I have invested my money. Instead of buying gold, I could have put it in bank account and generated some interest. So how much interest have I lost? I have lost 2% interest. That's what the interest rate is. So this into 2% is the interest I have lost. So I've actually paid 1100 plus 22, $1122 to get this gold and lost interest for 1 year. Now I can sell this gold for 1200 because I have got a contract about it, irrespective of market price. So am I making money? Yes, I am making $78 profit even after considering interest in 1 year. So is there an arbitrage opportunity? Yes, there is an arbitrage opportunity. So next question. Spot price is 1100, the quoted price is 1050, 1 year interest is 2% per annum. No income or storage cost is involved. Is there an opportunity? So let's see. They've given you some details. The spot price is 1100. The future price now they are saying is 1050, which is less than the spot price. Okay. Now, how do I do arbitrage in this case? I can take a loan of 1100, buy better, take gold on loan of 1100. So I am borrowing gold from the market and I will pay interest on that. So I am taking loan and I am taking gold on loan from the market of 1100 and selling it. And I am also doing a buy contract in future for 1050. So what I am doing, I am taking loan from the market on which I have to pay interest at 2%, right? And I am selling that gold, but I am also saying that whatever gold I have taken from you, I'll return it back to you. So I'll buy that gold and return it back to you after 1 year. So how will it work? I got 1100 from selling the loaned gold, but I have to pay 2% interest on that. So this into 2%, 22 bucks I am paying in interest. So actually I got 1078 by selling off the loaned gold. So once again, I am taking gold on loan, selling it in open market, and I am making 1078 bucks. But I am also to satisfy that loan, the person who I'm borrowing loan from, I'm telling him that whatever happens, I'm going to return that gold back to you after 1 year. Now 1 year I can buy gold on futures at 1050. So I'll be making a profit of $28. So this is little complex than the previous one, in which you have to actually take some asset on loan, sell it with and future contract to buy it in future, so that the contract gets nullified. So spend some time. It's not important to understand this right now, right away, because we are going to discuss arbitrage in greater details in future. But I'm just giving you an overview. So they have given a formula. In the book it's not covered, this formula is not covered. We'll be discussing this formula in greater details, but I have given you the workout of that. So future price should be 1122 instead of 1100. So that is why you are making some profits in the trade rather than a loss. Now this is another example. Instead of, so spot price is $40, the future price is 50, but there is also storage cost involved. So is there an arbitrage opportunity? So you need to calculate. So if you buy oil of $40, you're spending $40, so you're losing some interest, plus that oil you have to store. So how will that work? So let's do it. You're buying oil at 40 bucks. So you paid 40 bucks. So you're going to lose out interest on that because you're investing in oil. So how much interest you lost? 80 cents you lost on a dollar, right? So this is the interest foregone. Now also there is storage involved. So you have to store this oil. So you have to spend some money on that. Storage cost is 1%. So in total cost of this trade, the interest foregone and the storage cost is 1.2. So you ended up spending 40 plus 1.2, $41.2 to get a barrel of gold. Now you can sell this barrel at a price of 50. So are you making profit? You're making $8.80 as profits. So this, yes, there was an arbitrage opportunity and we did how it is. The other way around, so you will borrow oil, sell it at 40 with an agreement to give it back. Again, you need to check if profit is there, you would do an arbitrage, otherwise you won't.